Hi everybody, I am gone today at Heartland Community College representing Parkland at an important conference. So my wonderful colleague Jennifer Riekert is here to take care of you and lead you through today's activities. So the goal of today is to help you add to your argument for your GoFundMe by finding one article and one good interview. Let's say I was doing my GoFundMe on the Northside Food Pantry, a food pantry where I volunteer. I've got a lot of experience with it, so most of my paper is just going to be my experience. But I also want to add maybe one good outside article that might add some good information about why we should fund the Northside Pantry. So a good place to start for looking for your article is actually right here at the Parkland database, the library database. So click on Library. Go there and you're going to get this search engine. And what you're going to do is you're going to plug in different key terms that relate to your topic and search around and see if you can find an article that would give you some good information to come along and support your argument. I plugged in a lot of different key terms like hunger, food scarcity. The one that helped me find my article was food pantries in America. So just be prepared. It takes a little fishing around. You got to try different terms. When I searched with this term, initially it brought up 1,700 different results. And I thought, wow, that's just too many. So what I did is I narrowed down publication date. I don't need to go back all the way to 1981. I went ahead and pushed that all the way up to about 2009, the last 10 years. And that updated down to 775. Next, what I did is I said, I'm just going to look at magazine articles. You don't have to use a big research article. Magazine articles are okay if it's a credible source. And I found this article right here. Food pantries provide emergency food to more than 1/4 of food insecure households. And that sounded like, hey, that sounds like that could support why food pantries are a good thing. So I went ahead and went to the article. I went to the PDF, the full text of the article, and that brought up this. And here's what's cool. This actually comes from the United States Department of Agriculture, and that's a good source. One of the things you'll have to do is you'll have to convince me that your article came from a source that was reliable. So anyway, this article, I read through it. It's actually not very long, but it had some nice facts. It had some good information, such as this statistic that food insecurity has increased from 10.7% of our population to 11.8% in 2017. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think that there are over 380 million people in the United States, well, one percentage point of that is quite a lot of people. So that's how I found my article. You can also go straight to the internet and do a Google search, but you just want to be careful because you can't pick any old source. So what I did is I plugged in hunger in Champaign, Illinois. So I thought, well, my food pantry's in Champaign. What if I could find a local article about hunger here? And wow, right here I found a great article from the News-Gazette. That is the largest local newspaper in Champaign-Urbana in this area. And look at this. It's about hunger, a struggle in higher education settings too. And I think, as a matter of fact, this is a picture of right here of the food pantry at Parkland College. So what a great article for me to read. Side note, this is not a research paper you're writing, but you can use more than one article in your site. When you get done reading your article, you're going to do a write-up on it called a posting or an annotation. And this is the handout that's right there on Cobra for you to look at if you forget what I'm about to tell you. The write-up looks just like this. Here's an example one. You're going to have a citation. You can follow my formatting really easily there. You're going to have a section about source quality, and make sure to use these headings, okay? So I know that you include everything you're supposed to. Take about a sentence or two to tell me why you think this is a quality source. Pull at least 3 good quotes or details from the article. If your article doesn't have 3 good quotes or details, then it's probably not a very good article. Finally, you're going to write a paragraph. Make a point that you might make in your GoFundMe paper. use a quote or detail from your article to back it up, and then explain that quote or detail a little bit in a nice paragraph. And ideally, you're going to have a great paragraph you can just copy and paste right over to your GoFundMe paper. So Jennifer, let's go ahead and pause the video now, and let's have students go ahead and take some time to look around the Parkland database for an article that might lend to their arguments, or even look around the internet for an article that they can read that could possibly help their argument. The second way you're going to try to add to your argument for your GoFundMe is by getting an interview. All right? Interviews are great ways to get interesting quotes and convincing details for your paper. Think about your GoFundMe topic. Whom would it make sense for you to interview? Let's actually pause the video and take a second to write down a couple of people or types of people it might be helpful for you to interview. So go ahead and hit pause and let's just brainstorm. Who would it make sense for you to interview? Okay, hopefully now you have a list of a few possible people for you to interview. Now you've got to go and get the interview. This can be the toughest part. First, I want you to know, for some of you, getting an interview may be as simple as FaceTiming your auntie in Tinley Park. Maybe your GoFundMe is to help her get a new pair of glasses. Okay, well, you're going to interview her. That's not so hard. For others, you may have to make an appointment or send a more formal email. For example, if you plan to interview the director of your local Boys and Girls Club, you might have to send them out a more formal request. It's okay to do interviews through the internet. In fact, I think that's a great way to do an email interview. That way they've already written out your quotes for you. Let me just tell you, the toughest part of an interview is actually getting it. You're relying on someone else to make time to talk with you on the phone or by email or in person. So you have to start right now, today, seeking to get that interview done. You only have 1 week to get it. There's no extension on this. If you come in a week from today and say, well, they never got back to me, that's your fault. You need to get out and make the interview request today, make it happen. Hey, send out 2 or 3 requests for 2 or 3 different people. If you are planning on interviewing someone more formal than, say, like a family member, I have written out a nice formal request for an interview that you could send through email. And if you want to use this and just put in the information you need, that's perfectly okay. You can copy and paste this. It's a nice formal interview request. Okay, a few tips about questions. First, ask only 3 to 5 questions. If you send out a list of 15 questions to, say, a professor here at Parkland, they might be too busy to do that. But 3 questions, they might just answer that. Secondly, ask questions you want answers to. So time to get started now. Remember, go ahead and ask for the interview. I would go ahead and add your 3 to 5 questions on the email request, if you send an email request. That way they can go ahead and they can answer them right away for you. Remember, not a lot of questions, otherwise they might not want to answer it. Also, don't be afraid to try for somebody big. So I have a student who's doing her GoFundMe on funding her cat because her cat is lonely. And we came across this name, Michelle Nagelschneider. She's the cat whisperer, some cat expert who knows why cats think and do what they do. And we thought, hey, why not try to see if we can track that name down on the internet? And lo and behold, we did. Here's her Facebook page right there. And you could try. You could try to friend her and see if she could answer a few questions for you. Probably not, right? She's probably not going to respond, but she might. My advice to my student was, go for this. Go for some big name of someone who wrote an article. Look at the bottom of your article. See who the author is. Send requests to them, but have a backup. Have somebody who's a little more likely to respond to you as well. Maybe a professor here, for example, in the Parkland Vet Tech department, might be more willing to respond to 3 to 5 short questions. But hey, try for the big interview too. This would be golden if you could get this person to respond to you for your paper. So let's spend the rest of the hour going ahead and trying to see if you could send out an email request to someone with 3 to 5 questions that might be able to give you some good answers. Again, it might just be as simple as sending a text to your grandma with 3 questions, or it might be complicated like tracking down some big expert's name. Whatever works for your paper. 3 to 5 questions. When you are done, just like the article, you're going to do an interview annotation or posting. It's very similar in that you want to give a citation. You're going to write down some of the main questions you asked. You're going to write down at least 3 good, useful quotes or details. If you didn't get at least 3, it probably wasn't that good of an interview. And then you're going to write a paragraph based on the interview, making some point, sliding in a good quote from the interview, and then explaining the quote a bit. And again, ideally, you're going to wind up with a nice paragraph you can actually use for your GoFundMe paper. So let's go ahead and hit pause, spend the rest of the hour trying to see if you can send out an email request for an interview. Both the interview posting and the article posting are due in 1 week, a week from today. So you got to get on them.